Hi everyone. Hi everyone, and welcome Franz here tonight. We're starting off doing a
Hi,
little
Nigel.
experiment. Hey Franz, we're starting off wanting to connect with each other. Um, so how often do we just fill space with words in our everyday life and we forget the importance of just sitting with one another? So that's what me and Franz have been doing so we can have a more of a lived experience with each other's heart tonight, and be in the complete unknown of where we're going to go together, um, and both not know. It's quite an interesting ride to go on. So I just want to introduce this. Well, I don't know how to explain you, Franz, but um, this big-hearted man, and I'd like to just say a few words about Franz here, and you know. Fran has a core belief that to really change the world, you got to start changing yourself first. You got to start to get to know yourself. He has a philosophical outlook that's embodied. It's mind and body, and through the practice of gathering people in circles and groups, where people start to acknowledge one's thoughts and words and deeds and feelings together, where people come together and his intention is to create a harmonious, joyful world by courageously connecting with people through love and compassion. Like I just want to say that again. It takes courage to want to connect with people with love and compassion, and because it's so easy to in this world, in this day and age, to be polarized, to be separate, to point the finger, to take a higher stance and everyone else is lower, or to feel lower and to think that others are higher than you. To meet in that place in the middle, in the heart, it takes courage. It's not the norm these days, and hopefully through our communication tonight we'll get a flavor of what that feels like. So I suppose, Franz, I'm kind of sitting here, in the unknown with you, and I'm curious about what comes alive in me right now. I have this like as I was sitting silent, I got this image of a boy, and I'm curious, I suppose, that we start off when you were a boy, and to tell me a little bit about how was your world then? How was your world amazing, and how was your world petri dish to send you on a trajectory to where you are today? Like what happened,
Mhm,
or
mhm.
what didn't happen?
So, Nigel, it's a really honor for me to be here with you. And I feel like right now I feel anxious, but I feel a lot of excitement. And, the boy I've been, for me, like I had a pretty nice childhood, and filled by soccer and not much else actually. I hated school, and, but I was really like totally happy on the soccer field, and we had our fights, and but it also was like team, and yeah, it was good for my soul to grow up in that environment. I also wanted to say thank you for introducing myself with my mission statement. It's I worked on that. I was initiated by an organization called Mankind Project, and for me, it's a very important part of my life. And when I'm feeling I'm out of integrity, out of there, I feel like I need to go back. And then I usually that. And we are like, as a boy, I was like full of like self-confidence and all that, and then we get conditioned. Then like all of a sudden we're missing the courage, yeah, to just to step up, or like even like courage to fail, and by failing, like actually we our goal. Being I was like, so
Yeah, it seems we have a little bit of chop in the Wi-Fi here from Franz. So we just wanted to reiterate some of the things he was talking about. Like I heard him say, a courage to feel, to fail. Like as children, often we're ridiculed. We avoid wanting to feel. But what a wonderful way to put it. Like what it would take to be able to have the courage to feel as a child. What would it take to have the supportive environment to let children know that that's okay. You know, and to hear Fran talk about soccer. Here I'm talking about that team spirit. Somewhat that he's seemingly replicating years later in his group work, which is lovely to feel and to know that he continues to light that lantern many years later in a different capacity. But yeah, as we're just waiting here to really feel into this and hoping the Wi-Fi is going to improve a little bit. Hey, Franz.
Damn it! Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly now.
Shoot!
This is life, everybody. It's not pretty, but it's perfect enough. It works. Franz, you just take your time and get comfortable and get into a position that feels good, and we'll start again. Hey, Franz.
Hey, it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
It's wonderfully fine. It's totally fine, man. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. I can hear you.
Okay. So tell us a little bit, like just go back a little bit. You started to get a little bit choppy with the Wi-Fi after you talked about, this wonderful statement that I was talking to the audience about there, this thing about the courage to feel as a kid, like the wishing that you either had the courage to do that or you were cultivating that, like just that's where it started to get a little bit choppy.
Really have the goal and like really pursue it. Yeah. So that's in my mission statement with courage, that I'm not afraid that it doesn't work out, that I have trust in myself, and that I'm fully aware of like sometimes it's not working out, but at the end I will achieve. And for me, one of the most important things in circles is like the connection with my heart, that I really can listen.
And maybe everybody, as we're waiting for Franz to come back online again, maybe we could really feel into our own hearts right now and taking a moment in your day, wherever you are from around the world, just slowing it down a little minute Yeah, just taking your time and just feeling your heart as we're waiting for this big-hearted man to come back on with us and join us. Dare to courage to feel the heart. Hey, Franz, this is perfect, man. This is giving us space to feel our own hearts here. So you come in, come out is fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah, everybody, just taking the courage to take a pause. Take a pause to feel in, find a breath, follow it down and into your heart. And rest there for a little bit. Come home a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm right next to the router, so yeah.
Yeah, Franz, we hear you now, man.
Okay, cool. What I was saying, the like
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Nigel?
I can, Franz.
Okay,
good to see that smile again.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Well, if this whole thing is just about having a smile with you and having a laugh, then it's already worth it, Like,
yeah.
we talked about. So we've just been helping people feel their hearts a little bit. So share whatever you like to share, Franz. Just take your time and settle in.
And the I also have been like a long time single dad for so there was hardships. And actually, my crisis times, it actually empowered me to walk see what life is about. That more.
Hey, Franz.
Yeah.
Hey, Franz, you just cut out there as you started to talk about the crisis.
Okay. Okay. Right. yeah, like so it's crisis in my life, and there was mainly divorce and separation from my children, and I was like 39, 40 years old. I went to a really low, I had this one situation where I was thinking about suicide. I was driving in my car, and like I saw a tree, and I went like I didn't go further, but so I didn't do it. But like that was a big turning point in my life where I said like I had to look for something which is more important, and so that's when I stepped into my spiritual path. I believe I started with silent meditation. I started with connecting more, like seeing only the materialistic world, but also like really be more involved in community. And I could feel like in the beginning I didn't see that. It took me a year, but then I felt like it makes my life fuller. It makes it more complete. It makes it more, with the love and all that. It makes it just more livable and more richer. And so I just wanted to say, like, when we like, right, and the first symbol means, in my case, was like
And just bear with us, everyone. We just again, we're just having some
just
interference
have
here.
like
So with some technical difficulty at the moment, folks. So again, one wonderful opportunity that we do have right now is just to slow it down. If you're watching this in your car, if you're watching it on your phone, if you're watching it on your computer, then again, just really inviting you. I believe everything happens for a reason. So without us just listening, that's to someone speaking right now. Let's take a moment to listen to our own hearts, to our breath, maybe to the rise and fall of our abdomen, and just giving ourselves a little moment just to relax into ourselves, and slowing it down. Yeah, just as you feel into your hearts, I'm sitting here feeling into how this is like life a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't go the way we want it to go, I suppose. It's about how do we adapt to it. So I'm sitting here kind of feeling into the importance of being centered sometimes when the world around us is changing, or it's not how we would like it to be, or not how we thought it would be, where it's uncertain. And I think a lot of us are going through or in a climate in the world where things are uncertain now. Things are moving, or normal horizons are shifting, changing. How do we deal with that uncertainty? How do we deal with the unknown? How do we deal with the unknown? Well, we can start to find our breath. Or we could start to maybe feel our feet on the ground. And we could take a pause. And then I suppose the next thing we could do, we could talk to people about what's difficult about uncertainty for us. We could talk to people about how uncomfortable it might make us feel. How we're so used to, always having things in the place where we want like to have them, where we're controlling or where we are very scheduled. And when that doesn't happen in the same way, like what's the feeling inside? And what is that? What happens when things don't go the way we want them to? What is that? So, like life right now, we just lost Franz. The connection is not able to be repaired or fixed today. But I'd still like to hang out here with you for a little bit. I have a question that someone sent just before we started today's podcast, and the lady said, "Hey, I see the world different than my husband sees the world. I have different beliefs than he has. And how do we meet? How do we deal with that struggle?" In their family, they have polarized views on a certain subject, certain context, but just for keeping it general, like it's like we often disagree about different things. But how can we learn to respect or grow regard for one another? Like, what does it take to be able to know that you have the right to have your opinion the same way as I have the right to have my opinion? How do we do that without becoming separate? How do we do that without creating aggression or somebody's right or somebody's wrong? So it's a very good question, How do we learn to do that? Often we were not shown that growing up. Well, again, like a lot of what we do in well-beings is about having essential conversations, and we do a lot of therapy and group therapy and circles and gatherings for people, and it starts with that. It starts with getting resourced. So getting resourced outside the relationship, where you can talk to friends who don't alter or change your state. Where they're not trying to make you feel better. Let's say you're feeling sad or upset that this woman's husband, doesn't see the world the way she sees it, and she feels rejected or betrayed or hurt. And So it's really important to have a friends that, or a community, or a tribe, or a circle where you can come and share how you feel, simply how you feel, not needing to make you feel better, which is what we do in this world a lot. You know, we want to put we want to be positive about things that are painful sometimes, but sometimes it's really good to be authentic and allow the ache to ache. And sometimes we need people to do that with. So to answer the woman's question a little bit, and for anyone who has ever come up against a problem where they see the world differently than somebody else and they struggle with that, is to really start to talk about how it feels to not, be in agreement. And that may have some history in your childhood. You may not have been able to have a voice as a child, or maybe your voice was louder than everybody else, and you have a sense of entitlement. But to really start to look at, like the emotions, the feelings that are stirred in you when in a relationship where somebody doesn't see it exactly the way you see it. And you get resourced. You start to then maybe come back into the relationship and just talk about, hey, how you're feeling. And maybe the other person could do the same. And maybe the bridge to grow regard for one another is feelings. To allow there to be two adults, but also to allow them to also have parts of them that are hurting. And to be able to talk about that and feel about that. And somehow when you enter into the heart, then there's already a bridge that's starting to be built where, yes, I can see the world differently than you. And I can have that separation, but I can also be close and have a sense of togetherness with you. And that's the thing that's really important in the world right now, is how to have the closeness and togetherness, and it's okay to see the world different than your partner, or different than your children even, or to see the world different than your friends, and to slowly find a way into our heart, and through that heart then we can share that with the person. And not always they're open, but it's always risky when you dare to be vulnerable, but it's a worthy risk, a risk that can create a deeper connection and really grow regard. And it's so needed in the world today when we're dealing with polarized views, deep sections of the world being separated. And it's so important that we find a way back to the heart, and then bring that heart to the other, and slowly come back into connection again. So that's what I'd like to share with you today, as we're going to have a short podcast due to Franz' bad technical difficulties. That's not his fault, but we're going to have Franz on really soon. And so I'd like to say goodbye for now. And I'd like to say, take care of your hearts, slow down, breathe in, and roll with it. And we'll see you next week at the same time. Take care, everyone. And by the way, we got some music here as well, but if you would like to like or subscribe or hit a share, it would really help us out. We got some people singing in the background. Music for anybody who doesn't know what it is. And just a whole Okay, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight and rolling with the unexpectedness of today's podcast. And yeah, slow down, check in with your heart, and use that heart as a connection to the people you care about and the world around you. Thank you. Until next week.